So this is just going to be a pretty brief video that I thought I'd chuck up on a Friday. It's not really a main video that would go up on a Saturday. Had a bit of an idea. A lot of people ask me what I carry in the vehicle day to day on the station. A lot of people hit me up. A few people in the comments on YouTube, but mainly Instagram. I get messages all the time. So I thought it's probably not a better time to do it than now because I've actually pulled all the work gear out for the Simpson Desert trip. So we're just going to have a quick run through and that's it. So right here is more or less what gets carried around daily in the LandCruiser. So essentially what you're looking at here across these two tables lives in the two grey boxes on the back of the ute. Let's have a run through. So basically I always carry around a big mob of pipe fittings, and that's just to do pipe repairs. So all these fittings are to repair 2-inch poly pipe, some taps, just some general joiners, elbows, and then I've got this bore cap here, basically this is lay flat pipe here, or lay flat line, that goes down a borehole, and then obviously a pump on the end of it. This is the bore cap elbow that goes out to the 2-inch pipe. Just carry a lot of spare parts like that around with me. So I always carry this little BOC, what is it, 120 or 140 stick welder around with me. She got crushed the other day, a portable panel fell on it, but she still works. I usually it'll run 3.2mm rods, but I usually just take 2.5s with me, just for general repairs. It's very small, I just leave it in, it lives in my Morflate compressor bag, and it just lives in one of the grey boxes. If I've got a little blue generator with me, it's handy, I can do repairs on the run. Basically, this 10W40 is for the little petrol generators, and then I carry 15W40 for the diesel generators and a bit of coolant. So as I'm running around, I just sort of service engines on the go as I need to. So I've always got oil and coolant with me. Some of these old engines out here use oil and coolant, so I've always got it on hand so I can top them up. And then rattle gun in here, and chainsaw. Now this chuck shit itself, so I bought another one the other day, and obviously some of the stuff that I normally carry with me, like some of the stuff in this tool bag here, I've pinched and I'm going to take for the Simpson trip. But obviously I was going to take tech screws because they're so good for repairing stuff on the go, but I'm not going to worry about the tech gun either. I usually run around with a squeegee to clean solar panels, but I'm slack and barely ever clean them. And then this is my tool bag. So in here is just all your regular, screwdrivers and Allen keys, spanners, shifters, hammers, zip ties, basically all your general tools and all the stuff that I ever need to really fix anything on the go. Again, I've pinched a couple of things out of there that I'm going to take on the Simpson trip, but I did up a bag, especially my own tool bag, especially for the Simpson trip, out of my big King Chrome box in the workshop. So that's gonna stay there, but I did pinch a couple of things out of it. Now this bag right here, again, general stuff, electrical tape and thread tape in there. And I think I've got some little filters I carry around with me. That's for one of the generators, fuel filter. Funnel for doing oil changes, some ratchet straps, zippy ties, inox, duct tape, all sorts of stuff. Always comes in handy. Gum boots, because we're always working around cattle shit and mud and all that sort of stuff. So that's always handy for leaking troughs and anything like that. And then just extension leads and a big drag chain in here. That gets a lot of use. A lot of you would have seen me use that. Obviously, they're just handy to have in a full drive. I'm not going to take it to the Simpson. I was going to, and then I thought, I'm not going to worry about it. It's a huge chain. It's weight. I don't think. I know what I use that for. I use it a lot on the station, whether it's dragging trees away, moving troughs, dragging dead camels or cows away, or, drag chains are so handy for, oh man, straightening stuff, like all sorts of stuff. They're one of the best things to carry around. And this box of goodies, just carry this hitch around with me. Fencing pliers, strainers to strain up barbed wire, and then you got all the little nails in the bottom there for the spaces on the barbed wire. So that's handy. Now I usually use this saw here for cutting poly pipe for if I need to make repairs. This bar, bloody handy as. A couple of big Stilsons for the poly pipe fittings. This axe, which to be honest I barely use, it probably doesn't even really have to go back in, but they are handy obviously. So this box here, normally that'll go between the generator and the bore pump, and then if something goes down it'll flick, so it's like, you know, just a bit of safety in between. So I usually always carry a spare one around with me, and yeah, handy bit of kit. And then in here, so that's a 10-litre bucket. If I ever rock up to a bore that's not pumping properly or something doesn't seem quite right, I can fill this bucket straight out of the borehole, and however quick it fills 10 litres will enable me to determine what the bore is pumping per second. So most of the bores here, the pumps we have equipped, are good for 0.8 litres a second. So yeah, just so if you ever run into dramas, you know, I usually run around with that, and then it gives me a good idea if the bore's not pumping properly. Whatever, I don't know, tapes and just spare stuff, you know. That's essentially what I run around with. I usually have fuel jerrys on the back, and it depends what's going on. A lot of the little jennies we run are petrol generators, but then in summertime when the cattle are drinking heaps, we run a couple of diesel jennies as well. So I'm always running around with a big mob of fuel and diesel and that sort of shit. And then I made this little spinner up. It just enables me to run a single roll of barb off it just for quick repairs. Whenever the creeks run from the rain and some of the creeks get messed up, I can just take that down and run some barbs of some strands of barb. And obviously when the camels give me curry and I need to replace some barb, it makes it easy. And then it's just plain wire. Carry that around for repairs and whatnot. And also these usually live on the back. So a crowbar that gets used for bloody everything, so handy. Trough broom for cleaning troughs. Kangaroo jack and a big sledgehammer. So I know a lot of people don't like kangaroo jacks. I think a lot of people don't know how to use them properly, and people say they're dangerous. They definitely can be dangerous. When my old man was a young fella ringing, another fella he was working with had his head over where the handle was, and it flicked up and smashed his jaw, and I think they had to run him to hospital, into town. Back then, it would have been an old 40 series, slow as, bumpy road, hundreds of Ks out of town. Yeah, back then I think all they had was like a Codan radio that you chuck up in the tree and hopefully someone answers. So, yeah, I've never had a problem with them. My old man, you know, taught me how to use them well. I use it a lot. They're so handy. I don't really use it for jacking up the car. I just use the factory bottle jack. It's fine. The factory bottle jack even works with 35s. I've changed a tyre with it with 35s on. But the kangaroo jack I always take with me because it's handy for... Actually, I'll show you. Right in here. This is why I always carry this with me. You bolt that through here somewhere, right? And then between that jaw and this jaw then becomes a clamp. I have used that kangaroo jack as a clamp before when cows have jumped in one of our steel troughs and sort of bent it out, or, you know, spread the trough out. When they jump in there, sometimes they bend them. So I've used that to sort of clamp the trough back together and get the trough straight again. So they've got 101 uses, those things. They're bloody handy. You just got to know what to... Look, it's all about being practical and just thinking about what you're doing, because stuff like that, or using something like that, you really shouldn't use it if you don't know what you're doing. And whenever you're around something like that, if you're using it, for me, if it's possible, when I'm using it, I never leave the handle down here. I notice people leave it down. They'll like jack, and then they'll leave it down. and then they're walking all around it and changing their tyre, and I've seen it on videos. If that lets go and smashes you, you're buggered. So I always leave it up. Right there just eliminates a lot of risk. But they're very handy. So we'll have a look over here. This is an awning, ARB awning. It's a bloody cool awning, hey. So it's mostly used for at the rear of people's cars, like the back of wagons or whatever. I'm probably going to mount it up here. I just haven't done it yet, and I'm running out of time. This trip's bloody coming up fast. I was not going to worry about an awning for the Simo because it's winter, but I've been keeping an eye on the weather, and when we leave, when we cross the Madigan, we might get 26s and 27s and 28s, and yeah, that's fine. It's not 45 degrees, but it's probably silly going in there with zero shade. We may want some at lunchtime and that sort of stuff. So what I was going to mention and I totally forgot was I was actually contemplating taking a gazebo, but I decided against it because they're bloody huge. When they pack down and you have to store them somewhere, they take up a lot of room, hey. So you have to store it somewhere. Not only that, it's like taking a bloody mansion around with you to set it up. They're usually, like, you can get small ones, but still they're usually fucking 2.5 meters tall or something. So I don't want to really cart something like that around. Small little awning like this, it's discreet. It mounts on the top there. It's just there. They're so handy. So, yeah. Majority of the time you're driving, you're not going to want shade before lunch. And then, probably don't really need it, but pull up in the afternoon, bit of shade, preparing food and stuff is probably not a bad idea. So, like I said, it's only 1,200. It's probably going to come out to about here. So, but not that it's 2.1 long. So, it'll give us just a nice little spot to put the table under and whatever if we want to use it. I think it's going to be good. Now, the kick-ass sound bar or whatever you want to call it that I had up here actually broke off the other day. It did not like corrugations. It didn't last that long. So, here we have the Starlink Mini. This is something I've had for, months now. I was running a sat phone, and then I was running a Zoleo box, which enabled me to text off my phone and receive texts. Then I ended up going with the Starlink Mini, which I always carried around with me in the cab, in a bag, and I just used it as I needed it. I didn't want to hard mount it straight away. I've had this for months, and the main use for it is here on the station. It's pure communication and safety, and I use it all the time to ring my old man or ring, back to town to organise a bore pump or something's broken, or I need to chat to my old man about something that's going on out here, and we run through things together. So that's mainly what it's used for. I've hard mounted it specifically for this trip so that I have access to the internet 24/7, access to phone calls and whatnot. My brother's going to be here looking after the station while I'm not here. It's not paramount to have 24/7 communication with each other, but it is very handy. And in this day and age, if I can do it that way, we're better off doing it that way. So that if he has any questions or any dramas out here, just like when I'm here by myself, he can ring me and we can talk straight away. I wanted to make sure I was available to him pretty much 24/7. But also, I want to be able to, share content and put posts up and all that sort of shit along the go while we're on the Simo. And this is just brilliant. The Starlink Mini in its compact form, it's just so good. I bought this mount in town for $200 odd. I looked around, found one for $400, found one for $600, and then this one was bloody $200 from J-Car. I made up the little base plate the other day and bolted it to the canopy, because obviously the canopy's aluminium, and it just magnetizes there. It hasn't moved. I just run the cable in me canopy door straight off the battery box. Absolutely laughing. It's bloody good. And then for the homestead, I've got the main Starlink dish right up there. So I bloody love Starlink. It works flawlessly, eh? That dish up on that's the main residential dish out here. It's the best thing ever. And then, like I said, the Starlink Mini up there, it's probably been up there for about a week. It's, it's the best. I wasn't going to do this, but I may as well. Let's quickly run through what I'm taking to the Simo, just very quickly. There's going to be more detailed vids later, but we may as well do it. So this is the camp side, if that's what you want to call it. Engel chest fridge, keep it simple. And that's a gas cooker. In here is gas, billy can, shower, washing dishes thingy, ground tarp. There's going to be more, when I get to town, there's going to be a little bit more loaded in there. But that's pretty much the campsite. This is how I'm doing rubbish. This bin out the back here, easy to get to, excellent. I'm taking, what, 7? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm taking 7 diesel jerrys. So I'm taking 240 litres all up. I just want to be, you know, just trying to be extra careful and make sure I'm fully self-reliant. 240 litres I think is going to be good. Now, on the topic of fuel usage, I'd love to know, has anybody, the internet is a wonderful place. You go on the internet and try and look up information, it's always conflicting. How long is it from Mount Dare to Birdsville via the Madigan line? You get 101 different answers. I know there's a couple different routes and people like to pull off and do the Geo Centre or go down here, and so that ends up being a bit different. There's always different fuel usage. Anyone watching this, have you ever done Mount Dare to Birdsville via the Madigan line, either doing the whole Madigan line to Birdsville or turning off south along the Hay River track? I'd love to know your distances, what vehicle you're in, and how much fuel you used. If you would like to have a little bit of a discussion about that, it'd be much appreciated. Another 2 black jerrys on here, which are purely for water, for showers. And then I'm bringing about 2, 4, 6, 8, 90 litres of water, I reckon. And we should be laughing. Shovel up here, max tracks, usual story. Now this side here is all tools and recovery. So ratchet straps, some boards for jacking, rags. That box is absolutely full of spare parts. And yeah, that's a ground tarp for if I need to get under the car to work on the car. Recovery gear all under here. Tyre repair kit, power tools under there. Obviously for recovery kit, a couple of snap straps, 4 soft shackles, winch dampener. What else we got? Tree trunk protector or bridle, whatever you want to call it. Which means if I do get stuck, which I won't, we can distribute the load across both of these recovery points. And then obviously, you probably would have seen from the previous app, the old Bush Ranger winch tucked away, which, as I said on that app, is probably the least necessary mod for a bloody desert crossing. But I've been meaning to fit one to this vehicle since forever, and I thought may as well do it before the Simo. It's not a bad idea. Now, Jesus, a bit creaky, mate. Need a little bit of oil. Yeah, still running the battery box. This thing's been great, 150 amp hour. I really do like it, eh? It's a bloody good thing. Charge power tool batteries up here. Still running the iTech Weld inverter. It's been flawless. Absolutely love it. I'm just going to run a table, just a small one. A couple of camp chairs here that I've had forever. This is the pop-up shower. I've just sort of thrown this stuff in here. I've got to go to town and add a bit more. But yeah, the little Morphlate compressor, as you know. Now that's a tool bag that I've done up specifically for this trip. And in it is all the King Chrome stuff out of my big King Chrome box in the workshop. So basically in there is, you know, all your regular, all the hand tools, pretty much, you know, socket spanners, screwdrivers, Allen keys, all the pliers and vice grips and side cutters and breaker bars, drill bits, test light, just all sorts of random shit. And yeah, but anyway, I guess that's probably going to do it. So yeah, I thought we'd have a quick run through. Like I said, many people always asking, what exactly do I carry around to work on the station? What sort of stuff do I need? So the rig is really getting there. She's all set up. There's only a couple more things to do. Rightio. Well, the next step you'll probably see from me will hopefully be something to do with the Simpson Desert. So you have a good weekend, guys. See you later.